Hey guys, it's Mike Chen. When we think of powerful gods, maybe Zeus or Poseidon or maybe some other Greek god would come to mind. But did you know that there are over 200 gods and goddesses worshipped throughout ancient China? And those are just the well-known ones. If you were to count every single last one of them, the number would be over 1,000. These deities were believed to have created the world we live in today and are tasked with keeping the world running, with each god or deity having their own unique powers and responsibilities. Did you know there's even a deity of brooms? Of course, many of the gods possess powers that goes way beyond house cleaning. They can control the skies and manipulate the seas. They can even destroy Earth itself. So here are some of the most powerful gods in Chinese mythology. Let's start with Guanyin, also known as Guanyin Pusa, or Goddess of Mercy. She is one of the most beloved goddesses. Her Chinese title signifies she who always observes or pays attention to sounds, meaning she hears all prayers. Guanyin possesses the greatest mercy, compassion, kindness, and love. One Buddhist legend from the complete tale of Guanyin in the southern seas wrote about how Guanyin would never rest until she had freed all sentient beings from the cycle of rebirth. Because of the struggle to help out so many that were in need, her head split into 11 pieces. The Buddha Amitabha saw her good heart and gave her 11 heads to help her hear the cries of those who are suffering. After hearing all the cries of suffering, Guanyin tried to reach out to all of them, but that resulted in her arms shattering into pieces. As a result, she was given 1,000 arms to let her reach out to those in need. Guanyin's skills are limitless, and she can appear in any form in all 6 realms of existence to relieve the suffering of the sentient beings who live there. In her hands, Guanyin typically carry a willow branch, a vase with magical water, or occasionally a lotus flower. The willow branch is used for healing illnesses and fulfilling wishes. The water has the ability to purify bodies and extend life. Next, the Jade Emperor, or Yuhuang Dadi, is considered the highest deity. He controls all gods and is the ruler of all heavens, of which the Chinese have over 30. His official title is this, ready? Peace absolving, Central August Spirit exalted, ancient Buddha, most pious and honorable, His Highness the Jade Emperor. Or 太平普渡皇陵中天至圣人一骨佛玉皇大天尊 in Chinese. According to legend, Yuan Shi Tianzun is said to be the supreme being, the limitless and eternal creator of heaven and earth, and he picked the Jade Emperor as his personal successor. The Jade Emperor's heavenly court mirrors the ones on earth, having an army, a bureaucracy, a royal family, reflecting the order of the Chinese political system. Each single department of the pantheon is overseen by a particular deity, spirit, or god. Although the Jade Emperor himself is actually vegetarian, meat food offerings can be found since the emperor might have non-vegetarian guests, like maybe me. In Chinese art, the Jade Emperor is most often portrayed with long hair. He's usually sitting on a throne with full imperial garments, the long dragon-embroidered robe and hat with 13 pearl-strong tassels, and he's usually holding the imperial ceremonial tablet. Number 3, Wangmu Nyanya, or the Queen Mother of the West, who is the highest goddess and is the wife of the Jade Emperor. She is in charge of all female gods and is also a god of life, happiness, and immortality. She also sends babies to couples and is often angry that people prefer boys over girls. She lives in the Western paradise where she oversees the peaches of immortality. Shortly after the universe was born, Wangmu Nyanya was born from the gathered yin energy in the universe. At first, she was a half-human, half-beast who brought plague and disaster to the world. But afterwards, she was feminized and transformed into a beautiful, middle-aged goddess of life, fertility, and longevity. The Panta, or peaches of immortality, are possessed by her and are secrets to everlasting life. They are said to only bear fruit once every 3,000 years. A peach banquet is always thrown on the 3rd day of the 3rd month on the lunar calendar, in which the Queen Mother invites all the immortals to her palace to celebrate the day she gained immortality. And they usually have a good time, but one day the Monkey King came and crashed the party, but that's a whole different story. Number 4, Yan Wang, who is the Chinese king of death who commands all the gods of the underworld. He's basically the judge and jury after a person dies and gives appropriate punishments based on the conduct of each person's life. Yan Wang rules over the entire realm of the dead and has a team of deadly assistants. He has the record of every soul as well as their death dates. The Monkey King also visited him and wreaked havoc, but we imagine security has tightened up since then. Yan Wang is extremely old, but he ages very slowly. He is immune to all earthly diseases and possesses superhuman strength and endurance. He is able to tap into and manipulate mystical energies relating to the qi or life force. He can also sense and perceive ghosts or astral spirits, so maybe he's related to this kid.
I see dead people.
And although he's supremely powerful, he's very reserved when it comes to using his powers. And he can also control and alter the reality of his death realm. Next, the Dragon Kings, or Long Wang. According to Chinese legends, every single body of water from the greatest ocean to the tiniest stream or even wells is under the jurisdiction of a particular dragon. It was said that the goddess of creation, Yuwa, gave 4 dragons the task of administering the 4 seas surrounding the eastern continent. The Dragon Kings live in grand crystal palaces on the ocean floor. They usually appear as dragon-headed humanoids decked in imperial clothing. They are protectors of their respective underwater domains and all its creatures. The Dragon Kings not only can control rain, thus creating floods or droughts in nearby lands based on their moves, they can also transform into colossal flying dragons that will rip apart their enemies. Or if they're feeling lazy, they can always send out their massive underground navy made up of humanoid sea creatures to do their job. Next, Ne Zha. Like all boys, Ne Zha was born from his mother's womb. That, however, is where the similarities to most boys end. According to legend, it all began 3,000 to 4,000 years ago during the Shang dynasty in northeastern China. A military commander named Li Jing anxiously awaited the birth of his 3rd child, and he was anxious for good reason. His wife was pregnant for 3 years and 6 months. The night before going into labor, his wife, Lady Yin, dreamt that she saw a Taoist immortal sweeping his magical whisk across her belly. He asked her to accept the child being conferred upon her and to name him Ne Zha. The next day, Lady Yin gave birth to a large round ball of flesh, well, basically a meatball. Shocked and disappointed, her husband suspected that the meatball could be demonic and drew his sword. He struck the fleshy mess, piercing the surface and revealing to his amazement a grown child, Ne Zha. Shortly after, a Taoist immortal arrived and offered to take the boy as his disciple. Both parents agreed, and the Taoist then bestowed Ne Zha with a magical instrument, the cosmic wheel, basically a super deadly hula hoop. And when I mean super deadly, I mean shaking the earth super deadly. One day, Ne Zha took his cosmic wheel and was just swishing around in the ocean, and it caused massive tremor in the seas, even rocking the underwater palace of the Dragon King of the East. The Dragon King was so mad he sent his soldiers after Ne Zha, who disposed of them easily. And Ne Zha even beat up on the Dragon King himself. And that's why he's on this list, because what kid do you know that can whoop a dragon? Number 7, Pangu. Long, long ago, not in a land before time, but a time before land, there was nothing in the universe except an enormous egg-shaped entity. Inside the egg, the opposite forces of yin and yang were all scrambled. It was a complete mess. But over time, the interactions between various substances and energies eventually conceived a being, a shaggy horned giant named Pangu. For 18,000 years, Pangu slept and grew. One day, he suddenly awoke. He opened his eyes but saw only pitch blackness. He strained his ears but heard only unnerving silence. Pangu found his dreary surroundings highly disturbing. Flustered, Pangu conjured a magical axe and struck the egg. The egg split in two with a thunderous crack. Slowly, yin and yang began to separate. Everything dark and heavy sank down to form the earth, and the rest, light and clear, drifted up to form the heavens. But Pangu was anxious that the halves would close up again, so he stood between the two halves to keep them apart. With each passing day, the sky rose 10 feet further above him, the earth thickened 10 feet below him, and Pangu himself grew just to keep up with the growing expansion. Pangu did this for another 18,000 years until he was certain that the realms were finally stabilized. Then, with a great crash, Pangu lay down and died. But after his death, his final breath turned into winds and clouds, his voice into rumbling thunder, his left eye turned into the sun, his right eye the moon, his hair and beard became stars of the Milky Way, his limbs and hands and feet transformed into great mountains, and his blood into flowing rivers. His flesh converted into fertile farmlands. His bones turned to precious gems and minerals. His teeth and nails became lustrous metals. The hair on his skin turned into vegetation, and his sweat turned into rainwater for the mortal world. Some say that Pangu's spirit never ceased but turned into humans, which accounts for the ancient Chinese belief that humans are the souls of all matter. Next up, Niwa. Niwa is the Chinese goddess who created, well, us. In Chinese myth, Niwa created humankind and repaired heaven at the beginning of the Genesis. The goddess once lived in the earth that Pangu the giant had created, which was a place filled with beauty. Sadly, Niwa was lonely, and one day she happened to see her own reflection in the water. She had the idea then of making a mud figurine of herself. She set the figurine down on the ground and it began to move, even sing and dance. It even called her Mother. She was so happy she made more and more of these clay figures until they were everywhere. One day she accidentally flicked drops of mud off a vine, and those two came to life and became humans, but many of them were disfigured, were missing limbs. And that's why, according to Chinese legends, people look differently. Niwa showed her humans how to use leaves to cover themselves up and to pick fruit for food. Soon after that, the world suffered from a great flood. Seeing this, Niwa repaired the sky with stones of 5 colors and then adjusted the 4 sky poles in place, which enabled the people to live a happy, peaceful life again. And finally, number 9, the Monkey King. Okay, strictly speaking, the Monkey King is from a classic novel, but I'm adding him to this list because, well, he's insanely powerful, and in the classic novel, he beat up on a lot of the deities we talk about on this list. The legend begins in the eastern continent in a land known as Superior Body. There, on top of Flower Fruit Mountain, rested a magical rock. Since the time of creation, the rock had collected the essence of heaven, earth, and the stars. As eons came and went, the miraculous rock ever so slowly grew a stone egg bearing a supernatural spirit. Suddenly, the rock burst open, giving birth to, well, a monkey. After spending a lot of time in paradise, the Monkey King discovers mortality and realizes that despite his life of luxury, one day he too will die. He then decided to leave and seek immortality. He finds a Taoist master and learns magical powers like the 72 transformations, which allow him to become anything he wants, and the ability to fly 60,000 miles in one somersault. The Taoist named the Monkey King Sun Wukong, meaning awakened to emptiness. After leaving his master, the Monkey King started a rampage by basically destroying the Dragon Palace of the Eastern Sea, demanding an armor and special weapons. He then goes down to the underworld and terrorizes the King of Hell, erasing his own name from the Book of Death. Then he basically takes on everyone from heaven, decimating the heavenly warriors, stealing the peaches of eternal life, the imperial wine, and the elixir pills of immortality. This time, the Jade Emperor sent 100,000 heavenly warriors to arrest him to no avail. Only the combined powers of the three-eyed deity Erlang and the great Taoist Lord Laozi captured him at last. Laozi then cast the monkey into his 8 trigram furnace meant to kill him, but after 49 days in the magical flames, the monkey came out unharmed. In fact, the heat only served to give him fiery eyes with supernatural penetration vision. It finally took Buddha to control the Monkey King, prisoning him under a mountain until, of course, his journey to the west. Guys, I love talking about Chinese culture, especially Chinese legends. I grew up watching Journey to the West. I can still remember every day sitting in front of the television, wishing there was episode after episode. And the classic Journey to the West, I still feel is the best. And if you like these stories and you love Chinese culture, then I would definitely recommend seeing a performance called Shen Yun Performing Arts. Shen Yun uses classical Chinese dance to tell the many myths, legends, stories of Chinese history. It's a brand new show every single year, and guys, I always go every single year. And they're not paying for this video, they're not paying me to say this, they're not sponsoring anything. I love it so much, I think you would really enjoy that, so definitely recommend seeing it. And I have their information in my description box below. And guys, thank you all so much for all the recommendations for video topics in my last video, but definitely keep those coming. I love to do more Chinese cultural topics, history, keep throwing them at me, and I would love to work on them for you guys. Oh, by the way, we do have a winner for the new channel name. I think most people like the name the Chen Dynasty, which is an actual dynasty in ancient China. So that's what it's going to be called in the future, the Chen Dynasty, and that's what you guys recommended, and that's what we're going to name the channel. All right, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. See ya.